Good morning, students. Welcome back. Let's think about this sleeve bearing that we're working on. And I want to spend just a minute and introduce something that I have not talked about at all in this video, and that's this project browser. We exited a sketch at the end of the last chapter and saved our file, and notice there's this thing over in the project browser called Sketch 1. Sketch 1 is an object that contains all of the lines that I've drawn so far. If I want to draw more lines or modify those lines that I've already drawn, I don't want to begin sketching a new sketch. I want to right-click on that sketch and tell Solidworks that I want to edit the existing sketch. So you can think about that term Sketch 1 as a folder, and that folder contains all the lines that I've drawn so far. All right, there's many more things over here in this project browser, but let's get back to our sleeve bearing, so let's get to it. I'm going to click on Edit Sketch, and I said that I needed to modify some of these internal lines to be able to have drawn the inside boundary of that top portion of section AA. I need to modify these lines. This is the modify area of the Solidworks menu. So I'm going to choose trim entities. I have some options. I can trim to a corner, so I'm going to use that a couple times. I want to, for instance, trim this line and this line to a corner. And notice the portions of the lines that I want to click on are the portions of the line that Solidworks will, quote, keep. And so I didn't want to really do that last step, so I'm going to click Undo. When I trim this corner, I really want to keep the upper portion and the left-hand portion of this line. So there's another trim option, and that's this option over here on the left called Power Trim. I'm going to click that trim options, and now when I click and scroll my mouse across a line, Solidworks trims away the piece of the line that I crossed back to the nearest boundaries. So I'm going to repeat this here and here, and you can see the results. I am also now going to trim away these lower portions of the ends. Click and drag, and notice this box now has turned gray. Solidworks is telling me that in this sketch there is a mathematically enclosed region, and that region is highlighted in gray, which is what I want to have happen. So I'm going to finish this trim command by clicking the green check mark, and I'm actually done drawing now in this sketch. So I'm going to tell Solidworks that I'm done sketching by either clicking this blue arrow, or the other option on the other side of the screen is Exit Sketch. So I'll click Exit Sketch. Notice Solidworks has immediately changed my toolbar from the sketching toolbar to the features toolbar. The 3D command that I want to execute now is to revolve my sketch 1. To accomplish this, I'm going to click on sketch 1 and have it highlighted in blue, click the revolve command, and I need to tell Solidworks what's my axis of revolution, and it's that first center line that we drew. When I click that center line, I get a yellow preview of what Solidworks will give me once I formalize or accept the command with the green check mark. And by the way, this is the result I want. If Solidworks doesn't show me a yellow preview, it means that Solidworks is confused and doesn't know what the enclosed region is. And hopefully we've covered that well enough in class. So I'm going to click the green check mark, and now my part turns gray. This is the solid feature that I've created with that revolve command. My next set of work here is going to be focused around putting some holes in this part. To do that, I'm going to sketch on the top plane, and I'm going to draw a circle on this top plane, and then I'm going to use this extrude cut command to cut that circle away from this existing 3D feature. So let's do that. I have clicked the top plane so that it's in blue. I'm going to right click and use the sketch command. I'm here also going to start by drawing a center line. Make sure that I click onto the origin and move off to the right. And I'm going to kind of look for that yellow horizontal box. Once I see it, I'll click my line into place. I won't move my cursor at all, and I will type in my length to be 100 and press enter. I'm now going to draw a different type of construction line. I'm going to click center line, and I'm going to use this option called midpoint. And now I'm going to click on the origin, and I'm going to move my line to the right and down a little bit, highlighting that it's kind of in the vertical Y direction, and click it into place. Quite frankly, I don't really care what the length on this is. I'm going to use this as a construction line. The 6mm diameter holes that I need to feature that I need to put in comes from this end, and it needs to be in from the end 10mm. So I'm going to offset this existing line by 10mm. I'll click that midpoint line that I just drew. It goes to the left, so I click to the right and the line goes to the right, and I'm going to click on that line and tell Solidworks that that line is actually for construction. I click for construction, click the green check mark, and if I zoom in, you might be able to see on your screen, but certainly in my file, that line is now a dashed center line. I'm now going to draw a circle on that, so I click the circle command. I need to tell Solidworks where the origin is with my first click, and my second click defines the radius. Solidworks will give me some snap options, and one of those snap options is a midpoint of a line. So the slightly orange circle on my screen is highlighting that it's a midpoint, so I'm going to click that as my origin. I move my circle out. I will click it into place pretty much any size, and then I enter the size, and that is 6.1 divided by 2. I now have the radius. I'm going to click my green check mark, and I have created now a sketch that allows me to cut some holes in the existing part. I'm going to exit my sketch, highlight the blue, highlight sketch 2, and use the extrude cut command. I want to extrude cut through the entire part in both directions. I have a hole pointing straight up and a hole pointing straight down. And when I click through all both, you can see in yellow what Solidworks is going to give me here when I finish this command with the green check. And I'll do that. I get a hole on the bottom and I get a hole on the top. Very nice. It's exactly what I'm looking for. But I need 4 more holes. So an absolutely core principle inside of any CAD program is to create unique geometry with commands, and any duplicate geometry then force the computer to copy. So I have this cut extrude feature, so let's force the computer to copy it. I'm going to come up to the top and click the alternate arrow underneath linear pattern and tell Solidworks I want to have a circular pattern. Solidworks is asking me what's my direction. I want to go around in a circle, so I'm going to click on the outer edge of this sleeve bearing, and Solidworks gives me 4 copies of that hole. They are defined over here in our properties, and I don't want 4, I actually want 6. And we can see there's a pattern of 6 holes around this feature around 360 degrees. Looks good. Click the green check, and we now have 4 holes that go around this sleeve bearing. The last set of holes that we have to put in are towards the middle of the part, and we are going to save that for another chapter. So let's cover one last topic. If you look on the screen, look at the top edge of this sleeve bearing and the bottom edge of this sleeve bearing. And if you're like me, your perception is going to tell you that the back end of the sleeve bearing is actually bigger than the front end. So that's called perspective. And when lines are parallel, our mind tells us from a perspective view that the back end, or what's further away, is actually bigger than what's in the near part of our vision. So Solidworks will give us something that's either dimensionally accurate or something that makes sense to our eyes. And what's going to make sense to our eyes and brains is if these lines actually converge a little bit. And Solidworks has a display style that allows them to converge and have something that looks visually correct. So there's this option under View and Display, and if I move to the right and scroll down this flyout, I have this thing called Perspective. I'm going to click on the Perspective view, and you can just see on my screen now that the front of the part looks slightly larger than the back of the part, and in my workflow and in my view, this looks more natural. Everybody has their own opinion. I just toss it out there for your knowledge and ability to use. So the last thing that we're going to need to talk about is this eye up here. This eye also gives us some hide and show controls. When we first started this project, we turned on the origin. There's some other options. I can turn sketches on and off. All of these are toggles. As an example, I could toggle the origins off. You'll notice it just disappeared, or toggle it back on. I can toggle sketches on or toggle them off, and you don't see any difference there. I can toggle temporary axes on and off. So if I toggle it on, a blue center line appears at the center of my sleeve bearing and one at the center of each hole. That's a function of Solidworks that it mathematically knows where the center of circles are. I'll turn that back off. So know that there's options to hide and show different features within Solidworks. All right, so I'm going to close this chapter and we'll pick it up again in the next chapter. Look forward to seeing you in the next chapter.